guys, how's it going? Now that it's getting into spring, I thought it'd be a really good idea to just make a quick little video showing you how to repot some of your plants. So this spring and into the summer is the growing season here in Canada, so that is the best time to repot your plants. Whenever your growing season is, that's an ideal time to be repotting things, because what happens is your plants are coming out of dormancy, and with all that new growth, they've got a lot of energy and they can handle a bit more of a change in environment than if you did it sometime in the winter. So just a couple things. Signs that you need to repot. One of the things here is if your pot is bulging. So you can see here, this guy is putting off new shoots and it's splitting up the pot a bit. If this continues, it actually does break through the pot. So once it gets to this stage, you can size it up a little bit. Snake plants don't mind being root bound, but you don't want your nursery pot to be split open. Another sign that you need to repot is seeing roots at the bottom of your pot. So if you have your plants in a nursery pot, you'll be able to see at the bottom if there are roots pushing out of the bottom or not. You definitely want to repot it then when they start getting very long and pronounced, because if you have it just sitting in a decorative dish or in a ceramic pot and you're watering it, if you don't drain the excess water, then all of those roots sticking out of the bottom of your pot are sitting in water. So you don't want to be repotting that. Other signs that you would need to repot things are just the plant isn't doing very well. If you have it in the same conditions it was previously doing really well in, and all of a sudden you're not seeing any growth, even if it is the growing season, or you're seeing like a lot of leaves dropping or things like that, just general signs that the plant is a little bit stressed, I would suggest pulling the plant out and actually taking a look at its roots, seeing if they're winding around the pot a lot or if they're very thick and pronounced. That's a sign that you could be changing up the size. So when you want to repot your plant, it's a good idea to only go up about 1 inch to 2 inches for smaller pots, so anything under 8 inches. If you have a really large pot, like maybe 10, 12 inches, you could go up 3 or 4, but you generally want to keep the amount of roots and the amount of soil that you have in a pretty equal ratio. If you have way too much soil, what's going to happen is when you water your plant, it's just going to soak the soil and you're not actually going to have your roots taking up any water. So that can cause a problem. If you were to take this and plant it into an 8-inch planter, it really would not do so well. So here I've got something, this is 5 inches here. This is in a 4-inch pot currently. So this is a nice fit for it. So what we do here is we take LECA. So if you're planting something into a pot that has no drainage hole, so this doesn't have any sort of drainage in it, what you would want to do is put LECA at the bottom. So this will help just with drainage. It absorbs excess water. It's better than putting gravel at the bottom because gravel doesn't actually soak up any water. Once your roots start growing into it, they'll just become mushy. So this is a much better option. And when you go to plant things, if you're using LECA, you should have almost 1/3 of your pot be LECA. And then what you're going to do, gently take your plant out, just squeeze around the pot, loosen it. If it's really, really root bound, don't be afraid to actually cut the plastic liner off. So you can loosen it up here and you can see those roots are getting quite substantial and it's getting a lot of splits coming off of it. And if you want those to develop, you're going to have to size up your pot. So fill up your pot about 1/3 of the way with LECA. You can also plant things into another nursery pot, and I would suggest just putting a coffee filter at the bottom of that, just so all the soil doesn't come out when you water it. So filling this guy up here, about 1/3 of the way, maybe a little bit. So just shaking it so they settle. I have probably about this much in right now. So the next thing you're going to need is your soil. So I've got some here. I've taken just a regular mix and put some extra perlite in it for drainage. So just these extra little pieces here. You want really good aerated soil, well-draining soil. And then what I always do when I repot things is I actually pre-moisten the soil quite a bit. If you don't do this, when you go and water your plant for the first time, what happens is the soil is going to shrink down. You want to know how much soil you actually need in your pot. So I put a pretty good dump of water in there. And then I'll just mix it up here. So you can see it's quite wet, just easily forms a ball now. And then what you do is you just take your plant. You can loosen it up just a little bit, break it up, just a tiny bit. If the roots are really root bound, because you want them growing down into the pot, not around and around it, right? So then all you have to do is just make a little space, set your plant on top of the LECA. So you want your roots actually touching the LECA if you're using it. And then you can just go ahead and fill in the soil around the pot there. And then if you need to, you can kind of just gently loosen the plant as you go along so it fits in a little bit better. So just fill around the sides, tuck that in there. And you want to leave about an inch of room at the top of your pot, just so that, again, when you water it, if you fill your pot right up to the top the first time you water it, all that soil is just going to fall out. It's going to make a huge mess. So to avoid that, just leave a little bit of extra room there, just so it makes watering nice and easy. All right, there you have it. That's pretty much done. Very simple, and like I said, good to do this now when the growing season starts. All right, that's everything. Thanks for joining us. See you in the next video.